Eventful week, both locally and internationally. It is the week that has seen Kenya's Attorney General Githu Muigai suddenly quit, with President Uhuru Kenyatta not only welcoming his resignation and exit, but immediately nominating Justice Paul Kihara Kariuki to head the State Law Office. Still, this week, the Jubilee government turned its guns to the judiciary, accusing the courts of, under the leadership of Chief Justice David Maraga, of bias. A terse letter to the CJ has left many wondering if Jubilee is revisiting the landmark ruling by the Supreme Court last year, which annulled President Uhuru Kenyatta's win before sending him back to the ballot. Is the judiciary under attack? And across our borders embattled Jacob Zuma left Cyril Ramaphosa sworn in. And now, welcome to the Week in Review. And let me introduce the guests that we have this morning. And I'll start with my extreme left, where we have Kevin Osido. We also have Javas Bigambo. And last but not least, we have Mark Bichachi. Gentlemen, welcome to Week in Review. And let me first of all just use this opportunity to say we did try to reach out to some female panelists, but were not successful. So if you're out there and possibly feel that this is too much of a manel, I welcome you to let me know, and we'll be more than happy to have you. Gentlemen, karibu sana. Let's start with just that story of Githu Muigai basically quitting, and whether we've seen in Africa now we have quite a number of negotiated exits. You know, in the boardroom, we've seen people sit down and there's an exit. Do you think this is one of those? Let me start with you, Mark.
Professor Githu Muigai's exit is quite interesting because he has been quite useful to Jubilee, and he has basically, according to most lawyers, served his purpose in office. His exit is interesting in the sense that what does it communicate, especially in the wake of the fact that I forget his name.
Rafael Tuju?
No, not Tuju. The other guy in the Ministry of Kiraiko Tobiko was actually moved as well. Yes. And we're seeing a lot of changes in security. We're seeing changes in the state law offices. The Solicitor General was also changed. He was moved to another office. And now we're seeing the letter to the judiciary. I think Jubilee is definitely trying to reimagine how the state law office and the judiciary is actually run. I think that's what they're trying to do, definitely.
All right, Javas?
Well, the pot of speculation has been cooking for so long, and it cannot stop cooking in matters, resignations, etc. When you look at the manner in which Professor Muigai exited office unceremoniously, unexpectedly so, and the immediate announcement or nomination of his replacement tells you that it's possible Professor Muigai did not actually just resign. Because if the president indicates that I have received the resignation letter and in his place I have nominated so and so, what time did the president have
to think about
to consider a slate of candidates and then propose a most suitable person to fill that office? It tells you that it must have been something that has been going on for quite some time, and maybe Professor Githu Muigai was encouraged to resign, because when you look at the law as it is, you know, you cannot push him out of office. So he must have been encouraged to resign. And the question would be, one, what could have led to the encouragement of Professor Muigai to resign? And what is it that would entrust, say, the government with the entry of yet another illustrious judge, Kihara? And Professor Githu Muigai has had, and maybe even in his future, continue to have an illustrious legal career. He is a towering and respected legal mind. Yes, some have taken different positions with regard to how he has been either advising or otherwise of the government, because Attorney General is the chief advisor of government.
Right.
And to that extent, it is possible for us to come to a near perfect conclusion that there is so much of negotiated agreements and exits. Because, for example, even the exit of Kiriako Tobiko's DPP, and now his entry to the cabinet, one wonders, could there be something in preparation for Professor Githu Muigai to take up after this kind of resignation.
All right, Kevin Osido, and there's those who've possibly viewed Githu Muigai as being not having done a very good job in terms of advising government. There are several things that, for instance, the enactment or the changing of, there was a law that he advised, but went to the Supreme Court and was, not the Supreme Court, the High Court, and it was reversed. So there are several blunders. One might say that Githu Muigai possibly misadvised the government. Your thoughts on that, and could that be the reason why maybe there's this supposed negotiated exit?
Thank you, Mike. And with regards to the exit of the Attorney General, you know, the AG is the legal advisor to the President, and we expect that the actions that are taken by his office and the Presidency are supposed to more or less be in tandem with the expectations of the appointing authority. And so you note that Githu's exit then brings in a lot of speculations, in the sense that we're also looking at 2013, his role in the ICC process. We are looking at 2017, null and void, that election, what was his role? We are looking at the petition process of 26th October, and the Chief Justice telling him, we do not expect you to be amicus in this process, and him coming up to want to more or less, quote unquote, bulldoze the protocol process of the judiciary at that level, and the CJ telling him, the deputy actually telling him that this court can run independently. And you could probably tell that there were certain things which were not very pleasing and appeasing to State House. And over and above that is, of course, the expectations of the behind-the-curtain issues. For instance, Fazul's coming in with IDLO that has been very supportive of the judiciary and especially the State Law Office. And the question then would be, where was the AG when all these things were happening with IDLO that supports the Judicial Training Institute? And so if one side of the house is pushing the other side, and you expect that there is a voice and there is an eye that is supposed to be seeing and advising, and that face is silent, then the question is, what is the state of cooperation? What is the state of teamwork within that process? So to an extent, I also probably think that the AG must have been a little bit frustrated, because for those of us who are in the governance sector and interact very closely with the judiciary and the workings of the judiciary, because we expect that there are certain laws that are going to be passed to ensure that service delivery, the governance process is supported. There's a lot of dragging. One is because of lack of adequate resources to be able to push some of those processes. And so you expect that probably the AG was also feeling like, for how long will this go on? But one of the good things is the ability for me, for the President to really come and say, I've accepted this. But this is Kenya again, Mike, and we note that people don't just leave offices. It's very difficult.
That when we say this is Kenya, normally it's not on a very positive
note.
Exactly. So it's not a good thing.
So we just
although we
looking
should
forward
be patriotic to a point when we say this is Kenya, it should be a good thing.
So
but
we
anyway.
look forward to seeing the next steps of the AG. But as Kevin and those of us who are now agonizing with him from the governance sector, we are a little bit disappointed, because like for counties, we expected to have county attorneys being appointed through his office, trainings for those people to be able to support county processes, so that laws that therefore will be able to support county governance and structures at that level are also passed. But we are hopeful again. That is Kenyan spirit, to be hopeful. And we hope that something better and much more brighter
is in the horizon.
Sure.
Javas, your thoughts on what is expected of the next AG, given that it looks like Jubilee somehow is reorganizing things, and they have a mandate to deliver according to their promise that they made during the campaigns. What do you expect the next AG to come in with?
Well, looking at the incoming Attorney General and how he has been very illustrious and excellent as a judge, I would expect that he would not intend to dim such kind of, good stature by way of being mild and accommodating of even views or interests or intents that do not work for the greater good of the nation. I would be quite hopeful, and possibly like every other Kenyan, that the incoming Attorney General will work expeditiously to make sure that those pieces of legislation that have been lacking for too long or that are still inexistent get to have that process in place so that the executive gets to execute also pieces of legislation to the greater good and the progress of the country. Remember too that the executive derives its power from the people. We intend to have an Attorney General who advises government with that kind of realization. It must not be thought or imagined that the executive is supposed to work contrary and at cross purposes, say, with the legislature or with the judiciary. Now, very many things, part of them perhaps we'll discuss a little later, that have been happening. We've seen a political party associated with the president writing to the judiciary. Question would be, what would be the advice of the Attorney General on such kind of a move that a party member gives a dress down to the judiciary, which derives its power as well from the people? So we would have our prayers with him that he retains the good sense, wit and wisdom and imagination to serve Kenyans to the best of his ability so that Kenya and its constitution can live forever.
All right, and let me move on now to the next thing. And as we do that, well, I understand we'll take a break first, but when we come back, we are still going to be within the corridors of justice and possibly looking at the week that has been and how eventful it has been. So we take a short break, but we'll be right back, and we'd also like to hear your comments as I'll read them as we come back. So we'll take a short break. We'll be right back.